All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lisa Cotton speaking, and it is 12:13 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the special call meeting to order. We had a little bit of technical difficulties our first time doing the video teleconferencing, but we're on board now, ready to go. So first call of action is going to be the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will go down the list and call the names. That way we'll actually have the vote. Cotton,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Coach B, Coach B.
He's muted, I bet.
Aye. Thank you. Motion approved.
All right. Next, we're going to have the executive director report from Ms. Watson.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for your patience as we pull together this process. The chair and I thought it to be important for us to have this call. One, to bring you up to speed with what the Richland County Recreation Commission has been doing as it relates to the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as moving forward with the required policy directive in order to ensure that we are, one, documenting our expenses, but two, making sure that our employees and ourselves are covered as it relates to dealing with this type of thing. This is my first time. I have done disaster relief between hurricanes, floods, as well as tornadoes. So I'm comfortable with and understand essential personnel, but I think that it's important that I bring the board on board so that we can implement some things, as we don't know how long this is going to take. So I shared with you all about 11:30 this morning. I hope that you received it. If you have not had a chance to look at it, I will not worry about that, but I will share it now, and I hope that you are able to see the division updates that we have. I don't know if you all, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So shout out to Jamie, as well as the entire team for RCRC that's on this call, and the individuals that are out in the field that you don't get to see. This was something that we started preparing for about 2 weeks ago. So we activated the crisis management plan that was a part of the accreditation process for 2016. We do have some updating that needs to be done, but staff jumped on board to make sure that the crucial and critical items of our agency were taken care of. So the report that you have before you is a summary of not only our agency's response to the corona disease 2019, but also what we are doing to make sure that the operations of our agency are moving forward. We do recognize that we are public servants, so we are still responsible for the safety, the security, and upkeep of all of the resources that we are responsible for. So what this report does, it gives an overview of what all of the essential employees are doing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the policy portion. But I won't, as I shared, bore you. You will receive this each week. Your team meets on Monday. That's the core group, all of my direct reports, as well as the division heads for each of the divisions. And then this report is compiled from the individuals in the field, along with middle management, reviewed by myself, and then discussed on Wednesday with the entire team. So it's about 30 of us that get on that call and go back through this report prior to me sending it to you, because it's important for me, as I'm doing this work day to day, that you are able to speak knowledgeably about what your agency is doing. So this report is all inclusive, and if there are any items here that you have any concerns or questions about, I will defer. It's about 8 pages. It is a lot, but this is what your staff is still doing. Those of us that are working from home, and then we have a limited crew that is working throughout the week. That is our safety monitors, our risk management, finance, leadership, as well as the facility repairman. And now we have ground maintenance on a regular grass cutting and trash cutting schedule. We are in a really tough situation. Closing the parks and playgrounds was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my career, because you want people outside, you want them running and playing, but this is not the time. And so we have done the shutdowns, we have blocked off entranceways and exitways to the best of our abilities, but we did keep open the trails and the open spaces, because we do have guidance from the National Recreation Parks Association on how to promote social distancing, and we also have signage that'll be going out. So what I wanted to bring to you today, of course, are these updates, and I hope that you have been watching the news and paying attention to what's happening to us locally, statewide, as well as federally. And what I would like to propose is for us to continue our closure right now through April 30th. So that will give us the opportunity. Our previous closure, we would have went back to work on this upcoming Monday. But based off of what we have seen locally, state, and federally, that just doesn't make any sense to do. So we are looking to expand this closure through April 30th, refunding our citizens for their registrations for programs, as well as providing them with guidance for the rentals that we have. We have been doing this directly, so it's not just emails, we were having phone calls. But that's what I wanted to bring to you today, that this, and I can't even say, team, that we're gonna go back in May. It is a game that we're all watching and we're unwilling participants of. But just from a fiduciary standpoint, I want to at least provide guidelines for these closures and to provide you with as much information as I have. So I will defer now if you have any questions about the report that I've provided you from your team, and or the fact that we're going to be making this closure extended. And we're following the school system as well. The state has not, there are only 2 weeks, I think, right now with the non-essential businesses. And federally, we're going, I think, to June. But I will defer, and Mayor Bob, you're on the line. You can share what you're seeing, what you're hearing from the various levels. And then we can have some discussion, Madam Chair. But at this time, I will digress so that the board members are able to ask any questions that they may have about the extended closure and more information in the report.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Okay, hold on.
In regard,
Okay.
Okay, in regard to Linrick, since the governor put down essential places that should be closed, was Linrick closed at that time?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Golf courses were not on the list. And we talked extensively with Linrick on yesterday. And we also had our risk management staff to do and this will be on your next week report, because we did this on yesterday and this morning. We contacted all of the golf courses in our community, as well as a couple in outside communities. And we have incorporated the safe distancing parameters that all of the golf courses. So at this time, no, ma'am, we are not closed, but we are not serving food out of the pro shop.
I'm kind of having a hard time hearing you, but
Okay.
you say so Linrick remains open?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't hear any of that, Donzetta?
I was just asking the question, was Linrick still open?
Oh, yes. She
Yes.
said that it was not on the list as directed from the governor to be closed. But they're
Not
not
even a second list? But
But
they're not what?
they're not serving food, or and they have guidelines to uphold the social distancing.
Okay, because you know he came out with another non-essential list of places that should be closed, like the gyms are closed now, and the beauty parlors, and the and the barbershops. And I was just wondering, was Linrick also being closed? And so she said no.
Correct. Anybody else has questions?
Yeah, I know we're this is kind of far out, but I guess I'm kind of thinking about our summer programs, and I know that have been something that we want to make a big push on this year, as well as I think last year we were doing some feeding programs through the summer program, and then if we were to do them I guess I'm just kind of wondering where we're at with that thought process, because it's kind of far out, but it is coming up. And then also, if we were to have, like, if we do have kids coming to our summer programs, is there a way to kind of keep track if a kid gets sick, or if there is some kind of corona type situation? I guess I'm kind of concerned about our summer programs, and I know that is kind of far out, but
Coach
I just
B,
wondering what your thoughts are.
you asked a very good question. We actually at 10 o'clock this morning had a summer program committee call like we're having right now with all the district supervisors. We have a recreation superintendent that started like the week before all of this hit. I can't wait for you to meet Kevin. He joins us from Rome, Georgia, and we have already started. We're doing, we have some feedback in the background. Can we get someone to mute? We're moving forward with right now saying summer camp, July 1, start date, 6 weeks, revising the fees, and identifying smaller groups for registration in case we are allowed to open. So we have already done half of the hiring for the pool, but right now, not for the pool, for the summer camp, but we have frozen hiring right now until we get through this. So, and in addition to that, we've also hired the pool company that will start working on our pools right now to bring them up for maintenance. But we are talking about it, and we're saying July 1, but we do think that, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's gonna be a normal summer camp in 2020 regardless. It is gonna have to change the way it looks. Is it gonna be specialty days? But we are planning to do something, but we will continue to follow the guidelines and what's happening across the country. But sir, we are planning, we have done inventory, we've identified our curriculum, we've identified our sites. So we're ready if it occurs, but I've also asked the staff to come up with a plan B in case we're not allowed to have summer camp because this thing has not fully went through.
How much are we involved with feeding kids in the summer? Is that something that the schools do, or is that something that we would have to take over? And what are your thoughts on that, like the feeding program aspect?
Both entities do it, meaning the public school system is currently leading the whole process as it relates to community and meals. But during the summer, there are also several schools that service feeding sites. From a recreation standpoint, we do plan on applying for the grant again from the United States Department of Agriculture so that we are still able to serve meals, even if that is the only act that we get to do this. Gwendolyn Marshall, she's on the line as well. She's our executive assistant that oversees the summer feeding program, and I've given her the direction to continue to stay in dialogue with the Department of Education, who is the local disperser of that grant, to let them know that we are still interested.
Are there any partnerships that we can create to increase that feeding program for the summer? I just think that, that's something we probably need to look at now, since we're going to be limited on everything else, that maybe we can increase, the assistance for the communities that are in need. We
are working now to identify we currently actually have someone that's coming in to do this for the supper time, because he did the summer for us and recognizes that there's still a need, even though the schools are serving breakfast and or lunch. We are still assisting her by allowing her to utilize the parking lot in evenings to disperse food. So to answer your question, yes, we're still looking at partners. We're going to work at assessing what everyone is doing so that we're not duplicating services, and we'll work to fill in those gaps where there's need.
Lakita, have we been asked to do any volunteer work or assist in the communities? And also, what's the count on staff safety? Has anybody contacted the virus or anything?
As it relates to people reaching out to us for assistance or for us to serve in a volunteer capacity like our RCRC cares, at this time, I do not have any individuals that have. Today on my call with the recreation supervisors responsible for summer camp, the young lady that oversees conservation did state that the school system is looking for volunteers to assist with preparing the meals for distribution, and she was going to share that information with me today. As it relates to staff safety, we do not have any known reports to us. I was made aware that an employee's husband did get tested, and this was done after we had already closed, and she's been in quarantine for 14 days and has not shown any symptoms.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. But that is the conclusion of my report as it relates to closure and the information that you have as it relates to daily operations at the facility.
Hey, Lakita, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So the Polo Road sidewalk project, I did notice some stakes up along Polo Road. I guess, where exactly is that? Do you know exactly where that sidewalk's going from, where point to point?
I can share that map with you. This is the project that was brought to our attention from Richland County during the week of our closure. Jake has been working with that, he works out of our property management. So I can forward you what it looks like. They have started, and it will affect the Polo Road soccer complex and baseball field. So I will provide you with the timeline and what that impact looks like.
Perfect. And then the last comment is, I just noticed it on March 30th, I guess, they cut the grass. Are we still continuing to cut grass, or is that completely stopped everywhere?
Oh, no, we're cutting grass. We have a crew that is coming in and we'll talk a little bit further about that, why it's important for me for this policy to get passed, because it does impact the scheduling for our non-essential and essential employees. But we have been coming in, cutting grass, removing trash. Myself and Nika took a site visit to all of the larger parks this past weekend because we knew that they could possibly be filled, and we're doing the same thing on a regular basis. And where staff are seeing areas that need additional cutting or trash removal, we're reporting that information into property management and risk management, and we're dispatching people to take care of it.
Perfect. I'd been up and looked at the fields up at Polo Road, baseball and football and soccer, and noticed, I guess, obviously with the lack of play, that they are coming in pretty nicely. And as long as these guys can keep cutting and thatching it and that kind of stuff, I think it's going to give us a great opportunity to get our fields in better shape.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I just got a couple of things. One, I pulled up the executive order by the governor, and of course we have to watch and see what Richland County says if they issue any new directives. But as far as athletic facilities and activities, it pertains to gyms, spas, public pools, spectator sports, events that require shared sporting equipment, and public playground equipment. So that wouldn't include Lenrick, Commissioner Lindsay. So I think we're okay with it remaining open for now. Yeah, no, you're right. But until there's something else issued about it, I think it's okay, especially with the the not serving food and not having the indoor, I guess, social activities or whatever.
And there's no
I'm like to sit in all day and all they talk about is contact. And now they're saying that they believe the virus could be even spreading with people just talking to each other. So that was my concern about the golf course being open.
Ms. Watson, were you beginning to say something?
No, I just wanted to share that I share your concern, Commissioner Lindsay, but I immediately did the research. That's what I was like, let me make sure. We contacted the other golf courses. We have made some changes. The balls are being washed on a daily basis. But it is also my hope that people take personal responsibility and stay home and stay safe. But we have put the signage out, and we are monitoring what's happening throughout the state. And if we have to do any closures at the golf course, we will do those as well.
Okay, one question on that. They wearing masks and gloves, the employees?
No, they are not wearing masks and gloves.
Okay.
How many employees do we have at Limerick?
We have a total of 8, and they're on a rotating schedule, so they're not all there during the same time. It opens up early, of course, and then it closes. around about 6. So we have about 3 that are on staff at the same time. They are practicing social distancing. They're not sitting in each other's faces, breathing on each other. They are taking care of the equipment, taking care of the grounds, and making sure that the facility remains safe and secure as the citizens are still using it. And as a part of your report next week, you will have what the daily attendance is, and you will also see the golf course precautions, because I did request that yesterday evening from the golf course and our risk managers, so that we can make sure that staying open is not creating an even more hazardous situation.
Is this the only facility that we have open?
Yes, sir.
If it was to me, I would say shut it down. But I don't know. But of course, there's more of us. But I would say shut it down. If this is the only one that we have open, I would say shut it down. Let's just close it all down across the board.
I disagree with that. I think golf is the one sport that you can get out other than hiking by yourself or walking in the streets that you can do and keep social distance. And if I've been reading articles about how popular golf is, and I think it's a good thing that we provide the community, is my opinion.
How about the governor's request, though, that people stay at home? They can't stay at home if they out there playing golf.
Exactly.
I don't think it matters how popular golf is. What I do think matters is that our people need to have outlets for physical activity and health and sunshine. And I think that's one of the things that we need to look at is how can we provide them that? Because that's one of the best things for them. And for some of these older guys who play golf, this might be their only way of being active and getting their immune system some health and some movement in order to be healthy and beat a corona.
I don't want to encourage anybody to come out right now in this type of a situation, especially when you just talked about, the fact that it can be spread by talking or, talking to somebody or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't encourage anybody to come out right now, at least for the next, however, if we can get as many people to stay home right now so we can get a hold on this thing. I mean, I just don't see the point of us having one facility open and closing everything else.
Well, what guidance are we getting from the CDC on this type of a thing? Does the CDC think that golf's a good thing or a bad thing right now? What about nationally?
They're not specifically calling out golf, but as it relates to social distancing standards that have been established by the CDC as well as other health agencies, we're doing everything that is listed as it relates to sports and workers. I'm open to whatever the board would like to do. At the same time, I did get the feedback from the Golf Pro E out there at the site, and E has assured me that they're fine, they're okay. And I also looked at the other sites. Believe me, if everyone or any other golf course was closed, the ones that we looked at, I would say, okay, we have a reason, but all of them are doing the same thing. And when you go back to what the governor said, I just can't say using that as the reason why. Now, we do have the authority as a commission to close facilities as we deem appropriate because of this emergency, but I want to share with you at this time, off of the guidance that we received, we are in compliance at the golf course as it remains open. Sorry, I'm taking notes. All right.
And yeah, I mean, as an outlet, one more note. I mean, I go out and walk the golf course near my house almost every day and take some golf clubs and hit, and I'm not around anybody. And I think that's one of the reasons why they haven't shut any golf courses down now. If the governor comes out and says, let's shut down golf courses, then obviously we would have to do that. But, I don't think Richland County is telling us to do that either. So I'm all for keeping it open.
I drove past Clinic on Monday. It wasn't a bad crowd out there. I mean, my thing is, unless the governor says everybody stay in until we get that order, I think it should stay open.
And this is Lisa. I agree with Thomas, Rob, and Stephen. I think as long as the clubhouse is closed and it's an outdoor and everyone's, practicing the social distancing, I think it's probably okay. They got to have something. I mean, it's not like we're advertising and saying, hey, come out. people have to take personal responsibility too. So if you don't feel safe and secure being out there, you don't come. But people are fishing, people are walking. If the hiking trails are open and people want to walk a golf course and hit a few balls, I think it's probably okay unless we get some other directive saying shut it down.
I hear y'all, but I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't voice my concern and my opinion on that type of situation, with the simple fact that, if we leave it up to personal responsibility and people take responsibility now, and we see how that's working. I walked outside of my office and I looked across the street at the basketball court, and their basketball courts are filled up with people playing basketball and people waiting for next. You go anywhere right now and places are packed, and people, you say personal responsibility, but we see how that's working. So, you really have to put things in place for people to do that. But I hear what y'all are saying, but I just think I just need to voice my concern in terms of saying, hey, if we're going to shut it down, we need to shut it down.
I agree with you, Jermaine, on that aspect, but it's not a sport that requires shared equipment. Basketball is a totally different thing because you got bodies touching and they're using the same ball. Golf clubs are kind of individual thing. No one shares that.
Okay,
so
my take, I got a take on this. I'm gonna have to go with Jermaine on this because everything is saying stay home, stay home, stay home. And if you have that golf course open and someone goes out there and just by chance already have the disease or contact with somebody with the disease, we're gonna be blamed. The first thing they're gonna say, well, why didn't the commissioner shut the golf course down? Because it's a public facility. That's my take on it. I don't know if we're gonna vote, discuss it. That's just my statement.
Madam Chair, that concludes my portion of the report. Is there, my portion did not require any action at this time.
yeah, so we can't really call for a vote on the golf course because it's not listed as an action item. With the concerns that you guys have for it, if we want to put it on the next agenda for the next meeting, we can do that. But and everybody, and I appreciate everyone's take on it. We all going to have differing opinions, and everyone's opinion is valid. But we'll put it on if y'all feel strongly about it. We'll put it on for a vote for the next meeting.
I would like to put on for the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll do it. All right, so moving on the agenda, we are to an action now for the emergency and inclement weather policy. Ms. Watson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the important, of course, seeing your faces is always great. But I really wanted to get in front of you with this document. Joseph has rejoined the dialogue, and of course we have our our deputy director, as well as our human resources director on the line as well. So guys, if I will want you to chime in, I'm gonna give an overview, and I'm gonna provide you with a high level overview of this policy. And I know in our previous experience doing policy together, that we would have more time to review. I will share with you that I actually thought about this the very first day we did closure because not knowing the time frame. But now that we have this time frame and it's moving, I felt that it was important that we move beyond the standard operating procedure for crisis management because it does not serve as a policy. I want this policy before you because it has a direct impact on the employees and the services that we offer during the times of emergencies or incidents. This pandemic is definitely something new. So what you have before you is change from what I sent previously because I made sure that Joseph did a review to include all of South Carolina regulations, laws, and codes as it relates to closures and declaring emergencies. So what I would like to do right now is just walk you through the 4 key points of what's in this policy so that you are comfortable, hopefully, with allowing me to do implementation. And why, and I'll share with you when I go through the 4 points why implementation or approval today is important. So the first thing is that we do not have a policy in place that identifies the essential and non-essential employees. So you see here the definitions. And the definitions, we wanted to be very specific about which employees are considered essential and non-essential in the state of an emergency. And in addition, we had to expand upon what an emergency is by adding in pandemic. You have attached to this a list of all of the essential personnel that have been identified. These individuals were chosen because of their duties and responsibilities to the commission and the need for their expertise in the moments of emergency. If you look at that list and you have any questions about the individuals that were selected, please let me know and I will provide you with an explanation on why. One thing that we did add to the list that was not on your previous list is that we want all of our property management employees essential. This is because property management, with us overseeing 43 plus facilities and over 1,000 acres, we need to be able to make sure our facilities are kept safe, secure, and maintained, meaning grass cut, trash removed. The crews that do that and maintain our buildings and our facilities, even in a time of emergency, are our property management employees. So that is the major change that you will see. As you go down now to the policy portion of it, the designation of the cancellation. The designation of a cancellation because of inclement weather, I did operate under this procedure when I contacted the chair to get feedback. And she allowed me to move forward with the crisis management, but this puts it in place for any executive director that comes in behind me to know exactly how it's designated and what are the responsibilities of the ED. And as you see here, the expectation is for the ED or the designated to follow the actions of appropriate state and county government officials in implementing and counseling emergency and or inclement weather conditions under this policy. And so that designation would come from our local and our state governments, and then from there we will move forward with making sure you are aware, and then the implementation of our public information plan is what's covered. The last two items I want to share with you that make this policy very important for us getting past is making sure that the designations are clear and that the employees know what the expectation is as it relates to them coming to work or not coming to work and how they get paid during those inclement weather or emergency. As you see here, it specifically talks about when you are to report, when are you to answer your calls, and when you are supposed to report for your during the regular shift. Currently, we do not have this in place. I'm very thankful for the many men and women whom have just followed me utilizing the crisis management, but I will share with you, if we do not designate these individuals through this process, we may start getting some pushback about what the expectation is. You currently have your entire employee pool being paid, with the exception of part-time employees. We do have some that are working, that are coming in, doing, assisting us with going around to the sites, but it is very, very little, a little amount. Several of them have already applied for unemployment. But it is very important that we identify those employees and make sure that they are aware of their responsibilities. And the last item being the flexible work schedules. We have closed down the main office and we have a flexible work schedule, but we had not put anything in policy to make sure that I'm able to implement that. So the four main points that you have before you, and I will now I'll defer to Joseph if there's something that I left off that he feels is important for you to be aware of. But the first thing is the importance of identifying who are essential and non-essential employees, how the cancellations and extensions for these things are handled, understanding who the designees are for this process, and then lastly, making sure that the pay is consistent. So those are the four things that this policy covers in order for us to move forward as we go through these uncharted waters. So now I'll defer if there's something that you would like to add, Joseph, from your review or share with the board before we entertain any of your questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Watson. I don't have anything really add. My internet was kind of going in and out, so some of it kind of got drowned out because of Spectrum. But I believe everything has been fully covered in the policy. The main thing, like you said, was 4 points, is identifying who is essential, who isn't, and how we handle it. And I believe the policy is addressing that. Nothing gives you latitude in accordance with what the state and county officials decide when there's a situation such as the one we're in now.
So Madam Chair, that's the presentation of the policy that I have before you. And you can open it up to any questions that members of the board may have, and I will address them along with our attorney and our Director of Human Resources.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have questions about
I
it?
have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on the alpha for essential and the beta for non-essential, why are those terms that way instead of just saying essential personnel and non-essential personnel?
Just wording that we use from previous policies is still consistent with the best practices, not only for us as a local community, but I've looked at some state policies as well. And it's just the wording that we use, non-essential. And then why we say non-exempt and exempt, well, that's added in there because that's the difference in how people get paid. So some of your non-exempt employees are essential employees, but some of them are not. So those definitions need to be clear so that individuals know what category they fall into.
And
No,
also, to piggyback on the
I'm sorry.
legal terms that we have to use.
Say it again, Joseph.
I'm sorry, I hear you.
I'm sorry, exempt and non-exempt are legal terms that we have to use to classify certain employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act.
The alpha and beta?
No, exempt, non-exempt.
Oh, no, she was asking why use the designations alpha and beta instead of just saying essential and non-essential. Is that right, Donzetta?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think Ms. Watson covered that one.
Yeah, I just, I'm utilizing the language from best practices from other policies that I've reviewed. And if you would like us not to use it, we can remove it, but it's just things that I utilize the policy from best practices.
I've just never seen it used before. That's why I was asking. I was just familiar with essential and non-essential personnel, not the alpha and the beta.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Lakita, how many facilities do we have that's designated as emergency shelters in time of any crisis we may have?
I'll need to provide you with that list. I think that we don't have a lot because of the requirement from the Red Cross. There is a certification process that has to be completed in order to allow a facility to be known as a designated shelter, but I can get that information to you. What we do have is we have a memorandum of understanding with the Richland County Emergency Services Department where we can serve as distribution points. But at this time, I'm not aware if we have, I know they did approach us about serving as some shelter spaces at one point, but I'll need to go back and see what their process was.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
Yes, can we add, and maybe it just comes under, on letter C under definition, major environmental, but what about earthquakes?
I think that will be counted under major environmental.
All right, cool. I'm good then.
Does the coronavirus come in this? Where is that listed? I mean,
It says pandemic.
what category would that be in? Because that's the big issue now.
Pandemic.
I'm sorry?
The word pandemic.
I didn't hear.
She said the word pandemic.
Okay, is that on this?
Yes.
Where is it on 118, the policy?
Let me find it.
It's under number 2 definitions.
Yeah.
Number what?
Number 2 definitions and C, subsection C under emergency conditions. Yeah. Look towards the second line. It's an alphabetical. Oh, what is it? No, it's not an alphabetical order. It's on the second line.
2C.
Behind plagues.
It would also be included under, you could probably liberally say it's under plagues as well, but definition is written very broadly with the included but not limited to language. So even if pandemic or something wasn't there, the simple fact that a legal declaration of emergency has been declared by the governor and by certain other governmental entities, it would be covered.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also, I was looking at these, at the policies, and also, I know this is not on the agenda, but staff reduction policy number 190. I'd like to discuss that too later on, because that tells, guidance of what happens in case of emergencies or reduction or decrease in utilization of the facility. And I think that should be a concern too.
I agree. I think we should discuss that when we get done discussing the points of that we're currently going with. But I agree with Donzetta, that needs to be discussed at some point.
Yes, I think that should be brought up. We can add that to the next agenda, Madam Chair, but because that particular policy was not included on the discussion, we couldn't take any action to that. However, we can definitely forward you the current policy so that you can review that and we can have that discussion at the next meeting. But what I will share with you as it relates to the RCRC's current policy, it is very outdated. It is not the best practice for how to move forward with the types of RIFs and staff reductions. I did with Dickie once, and it's currently being reviewed now by our personnel department. So if you would like for her to move that to the top of our list for review, we can do that, but that would be a little longer review, I would think. But I will share with you this. We have started from a budget standpoint and finance standpoint. Brandy is already working on some scenarios for you that will provide you at your next meeting as it relates to recommendations cost under the current policy.
Okay, so let's get the policy out for review. So, because our next meeting is April 16th, I believe. Is that right? It's April 16th. So a revision wouldn't be available by the 16th. So is that what you're saying? We may be able to put it on the agenda for action in the May meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that sounds good.
I would be concerned that, I think what Donzetta is getting at is we have employees who might not be getting paid, or, with staff, and are there any staff who are being furloughed and reduced? Is that what she's talking about?
We are not. At this time, we have not recommended any furloughs. We have not recommended any reduction in staff. We are working towards identifying what our fiscal impact is currently and basing it off of a 30-day period as this thing extends. So what our budget director she can provide you with what we're looking at that would allow you to at least see, but it is separate from the actual policy portion of it, because that policy, as I share, has to be reviewed. So what I can provide you with where we are currently financially from a personnel standpoint, what the impact looks like. But right now, and Diana, if you don't mind being unmuted, can you talk to who's getting paid or how they're processing the unemployment claims and things of that nature?
Hello, everyone. When anybody submits a claim for unemployment, I usually get it through our system, the DEW system. And at that point, I just go ahead and submit it as fast as I can so that they can go ahead and be approved for it. Just, South Carolina is just trying to make sure we're not getting claims from people that are not our actual employees. So I've processed quite a few of those, and I've received a couple in the mail as well that I've sent back in.
So the only employees that are
not, because I couldn't hear you. Which employees are you talking about?
I'm talking about our part-time employees, the ones that aren't currently working.
Oh, you have some that's not working?
Yes, ma'am. None of our.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about like the part-time employees?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
Because everyone else for now is still receiving their pay. So there's not an issue with furloughs or reduction in staff at this time. The ones that are not entitled to receive pay can apply for unemployment, which would be some of your part-time people. And what she was saying is that she's pushing that through, so there's no delay on our part on unemployment being processed for those employees who are not receiving pay.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, and I knew that was the concern, but no one's we're not letting people go or reducing or anything right now, because we got to see how this thing plays out. And it's not going to play out in the next month or two. And that's why I feel comfortable getting the information compiled for this month and then maybe taking action by next month if we can do that. That sound good?
Well, my thing is too.
I think that sounds great.
Depends on our money that we get coming in the budget too, right?
Not right now, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, the budget.
No, not at present, but
right.
Yeah, eventually.
Right.
Because I'm sure some emergency money is gonna be used. To, we have so many people applying for unemployment. At some point, it's gonna probably come up.
Right. Okay. All right. So if there's no more discussion on the new policy action, the emergency and inclement weather policy, then I would call for a motion on it.
Oh, I had on the old one, a copy of the old inclement weather policy. It stated on here that, well, they went in, they said that it should be, if the commission, that we'll have to notify the television stations and all of this stuff. I mean, that's minor, but that's on the old policy. And I was wondering why you didn't include that in the new policy.
It's on number 4. It's 3, policy, designation, and cancellation of inclement weather. It's number 4. Employees will be responsible for monitoring and the website, but yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'd like to make a motion to accept emergency inclement weather policy number 118 as of April 2020.
Okay. Motion's been made and properly second, and I'll have Cornelia call the roll.
Cotton,
Yes.
Lapine,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Coach B.
Aye.
Motion approved unanimously.
All right, guys. That is everything on the agenda for now. We'll look forward to talking to everyone again on our next regular meeting. I'm assuming we're going to do it the same way since we're on lockdown still.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we'll get in and move around some stuff and make sure that all of the links, I think that one of the things we want to make sure that we get done, that everyone download the, what I found is having the app is better than just trying to go online. I had the app. So I just wanted to share from my experience, and Mr. Lapine was shaking his head as well. So we'll work with you in between time to make sure you have what you need in order to participate clearly.
Will the meeting be at 6 p.m.?
Madam Chair, if you want to poll the commissioners to come up with what that time frame is, I'm fine. If you want to move it to earlier, we just need to make sure it's a part of the public notice.
Mm-hmm. My preference would be earlier as well. Anybody else got a preference?
I like the
Early. My birthday's the 15th, so make sure I get my cake and balloons.
We'll mail it over there. I'll drop it off at the door. I'm looking at the schedule. What's that date? So that the third meeting would be the 20th.
16th. 20th?
The 15th. My apologies. No, wait. No, I'm in the wrong month. Hold on.
The 20th?
It's the 20th. The 20th. Yeah, April 20th.
Let's shoot for 12 o'clock if we can.
Yeah, I like noon.
Yeah, noon is good.
No, because you're gonna eat them. No.
12:15.
Can we do 2 o'clock? I've got appointments all morning.
2 o'clock's fine with me.
2 works.
Mayor Bob, can they vote on the next meeting now? Can they vote on the time for the next meeting because it's not on the agenda?
Or you can send something out.
Yeah, I don't think we should vote on it, but we can simply just do it. Just
Okay.
And because we're changing the time, just call it a special call meeting. It's the same thing as the regular meeting, but because it's at a different time, you would call it a special call meeting. No, otherwise, no different.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're not voting on it. We're just changing. I'm just polling to make sure that suits everybody. How about that?
Correct.
All right. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I take a motion for adjournment.
I second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Was someone saying something else?
I'm sorry, you can go with the vote. I asked you a question about your signature. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'll call you back when we're done.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, the motion's been made and properly second. I'll let Cornelia poll.
Cotton,
Yes.
Lapine,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes, and stay inside.
Clark,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Coach V.
Yes.
Motion approved unanimously.
All
Y'all
right.
be safe.